This is Python's Paradise. This is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena, straight out of Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. And folks, here we are, May the 16th, 2022, which is kind of funny looking through my records because I always date my interviews. The guest I have on tonight, I've had on May 20th, I've had him on May 18th, and now we're May 16th.
That's weird.
But I always go through my list to see, who am I going to have back, and it helps to have those records. So, folks, I have a guy on the show with me I've had on twice before, as I've mentioned. He's a talent. Do I call you a talent relations manager or representative?
Artist manager or artist advisor.
Artist advisor. Okay. Folks, I give you the wonderfully talented Mike Gormley. How do you do, Mike?
I'm doing very well, thank you. I'm sitting here in Los Angeles, and it's 72 degrees, which is actually cooler than a lot of the rest of the continent at this point.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Yeah? You know what 70 degrees is like here?
What do you mean? What's it like? What's it, spring, right?
I always find it funny when you guys talk about how cool a cold 70 degrees is. And I'm like, yeah? You know how little we see 70 degrees?
Remember, I grew up in Ottawa, so I know what you're talking about. But it's actually, people think LA summertime is like anywhere else. The actual LA hot summer doesn't start until August. And you get a thing called June gloom, which is overcast most of the day. You get, now they call it, you got May murky or something. I don't know what they've got, something for May. And it just doesn't really warm up here in that sense till August. And then August and September can be really hot.
You know what? I can walk around right now in a t-shirt if I want to.
Yeah.
Right here, right now. And we're not 70 degrees, I could tell you that. No. I don't know what we are, but we're not 70 degrees. We're quite a bit lower than that.
It'll warm up. Summer's coming.
Are you kidding me? July and August in particular, especially July, it's boiling hot, June as well, but
it's like most of the North American continent, except maybe way up north and then California. But most of the north, if you watch, the summers are hot and muggy, the winters are cold. May and September are the best months for most of the continent. But California, the coldest it got this past winter was like maybe 45 degrees, something like that. I think one night it went down to 42. But then the day would be in the mid 60s or maybe 70, which is quite pleasant. And every once in a while you get the Santa Ana winds come into LA off the desert, and it'll shoot up to 80 or 90 for a day or two, and then it calms down. But I know in the middle of winter, the temptation is to get hold of friends in Canada or in New York or whatever and ask what the weather's like. It's quite mean.
Well, you and I, of course, got connected through Lisa here.
Yeah.
And
I thought I introduced you to her.
Actually, I think she got back to me on Facebook. She was my 5th interview, and she told me to contact you to book it.
Okay, I can't take credit anymore.
Yeah, but she and I went around in Toronto before Frightmare in the Falls. Look, I got a Patsy mask because I
love. That's from what, 1984? That picture?
Yeah, class of 1984.
Yeah.
I've interviewed a few people from that movie, but I gotta say, I gotta credit Lisa as the one to get me out of my funk, because I've lived here my entire life. I get homesick going to Moncton or St. John to a concert, of all things, you know.
Uh-huh.
And when she moved back to Toronto from LA, I had her on the second time. That was 2017. We got talking about travel, and she asked what was stopping me. And I made every excuse in the book, you know, blah, 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 homesickness being one. So she invited me to assist her at her table at Horrorama in Toronto. And a sense of nervousness went through me. But again, another thing too was I can't say no to this. I can't say no to this. So I went, and luckily for me, one big memory I have is my folks drove me to the airport, so I wouldn't have to pay to leave my car there. So my parents saw me off that first year I went. So I know the year after, my father wasn't in condition to bring me because his ALS got worse. But he got to see me off that first year, which was nice. And my younger brother's taken me to the airport ever since and picked me up and this and that. But there was a lot of firsts for me on that. I'm the only one in my family who's ever flown as of now.
Really?
I was nervous about getting on the plane until we get up in the air. It felt like a bus in the sky.
I remember my first flight, and that's the same thing I thought. This looks like a bus.
Yeah. I flew Porter Airlines, which I really, really enjoyed. It's kind of a newer flight here. I've never taken Air Canada or what's the other one? Wings. I don't know, but I took Porter, which is a smaller flight, and they serve you food on there, which is a plus.
Mhm.
And I didn't land in Pearson. I landed on Toronto Island, and I didn't take the ferry across. I took the tunnel. It's the first time since the mid '80s since I've been on an escalator, because we don't have them here anymore.
Anymore? Why? They took them out?
Yeah, back in the mid '80s, we used to have a Zellers downtown that had escalators, but Zellers is not down there anymore. And it's just like with the drive-ins, you know, a lot of stuff disappeared. And so it was kind of cool going on an escalator in that tunnel, you know. And I felt like, actually, this quote I'll mention when I get above ground, because I called Lisa whenever I got above ground, because I need to know what to do. And she told me to get on the shuttle bus that'll take me to Union Station. So when I get above ground, like, we've got some tall buildings here, but I mean, when I get out there above ground, it was like I wasn't in Kansas anymore. My goodness. And it was like the opening scene at Union Station when I finally got there. It was like that opening scene from North by Northwest, the Hitchcock movie.
Mhm.
People coming and going through the doors, you know. And I was like, oh, jeepers, there's so many people, you know. I mean, we got people here, but not like this. I can get someplace anyway. I don't even dare drive there, but I remember when Lisa met me there, you know, and that was pretty cool. And Emerson was there, so we all got together to eat. And one thing was going through my mind through that meal, and that is, why the hell am I not homesick? I get homesick going to St. John, which is about less than an hour away. I get
Mhm.
homesick going to Moncton, which is about 2.5 hours away. Not homesick going to Toronto.
Because you're away, because it's too exciting.
Well, I've gone every year since, except for 2020, obviously. I always book a place to stay when I go down there, and but I always connect with Lisa every time I go down there because I save we got what we call scene points on our movies, where you got a card and you can collect free points, and every so many points you get free movies. So I always tell Lisa, I said, I'm going to save these when I go to Toronto because your theater experience is so much better than here. So, but I remember last time I went, there was a double screening of White and Black Christmas. And I called her and I asked her, do you want to join me for this? And she wasn't interested in White Christmas, but since Black Christmas was shot in Toronto, she was interested to meet me for that. So I got her a ticket. And I've interviewed a few people from Black Christmas. I have not interviewed Art Hindle as of yet. But I remember her big question when the movie was done was, I wonder if Art Hindle still has that coat. And she
I
called
don't know the picture Black Christmas.
the 1974 one with Olivia Hussey and Margot Kidder.
No, that sounds amazing, but I'm not aware of it. I'm not, like you, I'm not a film buff. I love film and I work in films, usually on the music side, and I have done so, but that one I'm not too aware of it. It sounds like an amazing movie.
Oh, it's a 1974 classic. Margot Kidder was in it. She was great in it. John Saxon, had a great cast. Lynn Griffin, I've interviewed from it. And she lives in Toronto. And I've interviewed Carol Zitier, the composer, whom I met at that Horrorama that Lisa and I first went to. And it's not an overly bloody horror film. It's like Halloween. It doesn't have a lot of blood. It's more mood and atmosphere. But I love it's got Keir Delay in it too, from 2001: A Space Odyssey as well. But we went to that, and of course, she called Art Hindle to ask him if he still had that coat. Apparently, he still does. But I've kept in touch with Lisa from that movie, and I've kept in touch with Aaron Noble, who was the clarinet player in the movie. Yeah, I'm in touch with Aaron. I've had Stefan Arngrim, who was Drugstore. I've had him on the show from that film, and one person from Teenage Head I had on, Gord Lewis, because they appear in the film, and Mary Lynn Ross, who was the teacher's wife, whom I'm still in contact with. So love that film. Lisa and I went out around all the locations.
Oh, really?
Yeah, we didn't go in the school, but we did get her picture taken in front of it. So that was pretty cool. So Lisa introduced me to a side of life I was never planning to take. I was never planning to ever leave home. But now I kind of look at Toronto more home than I do here.
Really?
Yeah, because I never want to leave there.
Uh-huh.
Yep. So, but I remember though, she taught me well on the subways in the streetcars, because the first two times I went, she met me down there. Because she was kind of like, I remember the day before the convention, like I arrived on a Thursday. The convention wasn't until Saturday. So the Friday before, she had contacted me and asked if I wanted to join her while she goes to get her pictures for the event. And I said, sure. I was happy to help her carry that stuff. But the same token, it gave me a chance to see more Toronto, as opposed to just lazing around. So anyway, the third time I went to Toronto Comic Con, which was earlier in the year. I almost didn't go because Lisa was going to be in Los Angeles, but she told me to go because she said you'd be meeting a whole lot of new people and increase my my brand and this and that. So I went, and it turned out I had that it was a different location than Horrorama, so I had to ask a few people directions. But other than that, Lisa called me sometime that weekend, and what she was really doing was seeing how I was going to make out without her around. And she taught me well on the subways. So yeah, I think I'm pretty well schooled on Toronto.
You can get around. Cool.
I can get around. We don't have subways here.
No, you don't.
Nope. I never heard of an Uber till I saw Office Christmas Party, that movie with Jason Bateman. I didn't know what an Uber was. Well, I took my first Uber in Toronto too. So that was interesting. So yeah.
Good. Well,
So
expanding your horizons.
I'm expanding my horizon. Lisa said eventually I got to do Los Angeles. I haven't made that big a step yet, but I've had others of my guests have asked me to do a con there at some point, and I don't even have a passport yet, but I'm not going to say no, because I know I said no to the possibility of ever leaving here. So there I am. So
Yeah.
yeah.
Well,
So,
LA is a whole other experience.
yeah.
You'd have to be here. You'd have to stick around for a week or so.
Mm-hmm.
You wouldn't get it all in even then, but you would have to, it would be more of an impact. I mean, I've lived here for a long time now, but when I first came here, I didn't come here directly from Ottawa. I lived in Detroit for a little while. I lived in Chicago for about 8 years. And that's when I got here. But when I got here, I'd been here several times, but I had not, and I've been here for work and such. But it took me a couple of years to get used to Los Angeles and to like it. I really loved Chicago. It was a great city. Detroit was okay. That was my first step into the U.S. I got me a green card. I was writing for the newspaper there, and so I learned a lot and made some good friends in Detroit, and then in Chicago, and now out here. But yeah, it's a city. Takes a lot. It takes a while to get used to it.
Yeah. Well, I've made it to Toronto. Maybe I'll make it to other places. We'll see. We'll see. I'm not going to say no.
You'd like Ottawa. It's a smaller city. It's I don't know where, somewhere over 1 million now. But
Ottawa is where the plane lands. Like, I'll go from Fredericton, it'll land in Ottawa, and people get off and people get on, and then we go to Toronto. Yeah. Yeah.
well, you
I
can get
was,
off for a while. Get
huh?
off for a couple of days and you get back on, or on your way
Actually,
back home, maybe.
the first year I went, I don't know why the plane was stopped, but the plane was just a second. The plane was stopped, and look at this. Yee, look at
Oh,
this.
look at this. Wow.
It's a Skittles.
I can't even see any eyes. They're
Skittles, open your eyes, Skittles. Skittles, let people see your eyes, Skittles. Skittles is like, no, I'm ashamed. You're exploiting me for hits and likes and views. And I'm like, you're staying here for free.
yeah, right. You're not paying any rent.
Yeah, he's my buddy. Actually, it's funny. Lisa knows I have a cat, and she Christmas one year she sent me a card, but she sent me a package that had a cat stocking in it for Skittles.
Oh, that's
And it
funny.
had a little Christmas Santa beard on it, and I put it on Skittles. The Skittles was like, tell your friends don't give me gifts. Yeah, but she sent a stocking, had a cat face on it, said, I love my kitty. So I put some treats in it because he responds to that. He's at my feet now. He likes to stay off camera. I gotta exploit him. I had some guests say they love it when I put my cat on here.
Yeah, that's a cute cat. That's cute. Good looking cat.
So you hear that, Skittles? You hear that? He's a rescue. He was named Skittles before I got him. And it's funny, he named Skittles after the most colorful candy, and yeah, he's black and white. Yeah. But nonetheless, yeah. What'd you say I would like what until Skittles came on here and made his cameo?
Kittle cameo.
Skittles cameo. Yeah. Yeah, my brother looks after my cat when I go to Toronto, so I don't take Skittles with me. The fans would mob them.
Asking for Kittle autographs.
Skittles, you give autographs, Skittles? He says depends on how many treats they give him.
Yeah, right.
Yes, depends on how many treats. I'm still in touch with, besides Lisa, I'm still in touch with some of the people you've connected me with. I've had TJ Doyle on here the past 5 years.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah. Yeah. He always has some new music, and with the Zoom has been great. So he's been on here the past 5 years, and I'm still in touch with Kimberly Haynes.
Oh, great. She's great.
Love Kimberly.
Great.
Yeah.
Now, this is our first Zoom. I've been on 3 times, but this is the first time we've used the Zoom avenue.
You want me to tell you the story behind that? Is I would do these at the station before, and I'm still affiliated with CHSR, but my former station manager, before she retired, she told me when I started doing the interviews, she said, don't put them public right away. Save some for a rainy day. Mm-hmm. So I put so many up a month. And it's
on YouTube, right?
Yep.
Yeah.
Every one of them's unlisted. So I always you'll get this. I'll give you the link to this, but it'll be unlisted. But when you post it, people can see it. Mm-hmm. But I do it that way so that the guests don't have to wait a year or so to see their interview. And it also allows me to take my time. But the unlisted thing works. I had a filmmaker the other day put his up, and it's still unlisted, and it's got a lot of views already. I can imagine when it goes public how many views it'll have. So yeah, but nonetheless, I didn't know what a rainy day was until COVID hits, because when the station went into lockdown, actually the last person I interviewed before lockdown, it was the station went into lockdown. I think it was March, I think March 15th or something. But I managed to get in there to do an interview on March 18th, and it was with Robin Barker, whom Lisa was affiliated with. I met him through Lisa in Toronto, and that was the last one I did before lockdown. And I had about 30 people waiting to get on my show. And one of those 30 people was Nancy Allen, who I really wanted to interview because I love Dress to Kill. Anyway, so I went the rest of the year hoping the station was going to reopen. It didn't. And it was frustrating. I worked, I did my cleaning job, but I was not happy. Mm-hmm. So I interviewed Nancy McLaughlin, who was in Friday the 13th, part 6, Jason Lives. And if I ever go to Los Angeles, Nancy will probably be my contact there. Mm-hmm. Because she's got a boathouse or something, or a back house. She said I could stay there. I'm like, that's nice.
That's good. That's a good place.
Yeah,
Isn't Lisa out here now, or is she back and forth between Toronto and LA?
she's back and forth. She said that too. She said, Emerson could show me around, and I'm like, you know what? There's a possibility because I get along very well with Emerson.
If you can
But
find him.
if you can find him,
He's
yeah,
so busy. He's busy with school. Emerson is Lisa's son, for people who
yeah.
are watching and listening. But he lives 5 to 7 minutes away. I haven't seen him. Since pre-pandemic. And I'll send him a text, and when are we getting together? And he'll write back such and such a time, and then can't do it. I'm too busy. He's going with school and his job, and I think he's a pretty busy guy. But I'm sure would find time for you.
You know what? The last time I texted him before, because during the pandemic, Lisa was in Toronto, and I sent her. Robin Barker showed me how to do this, so I sent her favorite flowers, which are white tiger lilies. I sent them to her, but I was able to do it through. I was able to order them on my credit card and have them delivered to her in Toronto while I was here. And it was for her birthday. But I didn't know the address in LA, and I texted Emerson this year. I didn't hear back. I'm not surprised. I don't hold it against him because, it's Emerson. It's hit or miss with him, But nonetheless, yeah, Emerson could show me around if he was around. And Nancy McLaughlin made that offer too. I think she's in Glensdale. So I don't know how big California is. I know it's big, but
The economy is the 5th or 7th largest economy in the world, ahead of many countries. And Glendale would be about a 20-25 minute drive from where I am right now, which is West LA.
Oh,
But that's without traffic. With traffic, it's about an hour to an hour and a half.
Oh, gee.
I'm in West LA, an area called Century City. Santa Monica is about 7-minute drive down the freeway heading west. So that I'm there. Glendale's on the other side, way on the other side of the city. Beautiful city, beautiful area. Glendale. Yeah. It's a separate. I don't know even if it's officially part of LA or not. I'm not sure, but
well, Lisa.
Pasadena.
Well, Lisa, I haven't met Nancy in person, but Nancy and I will have she'll call me sometimes, because we're both part of the Christian faith, so we connect that way. So Nancy told me, so I got 2 offers like that, I guess. So I'll take that into consideration. And I've had other guests that would love to see me at a con and this and that. And I'm like, baby steps. I just made it to Toronto.
Right.
Yeah, but nonetheless, so I owe Lisa a lot as far as getting me out of my funk, because I never would have experienced. We don't have cons here, not like that.
Right.
Yeah, but like I said, I remember when we were sitting at the table. I'd interviewed Leslie Donaldson a couple of times, and she was the next table down. And then to the side like this, there was Vernon Wells, who Lisa worked with in a movie. And I've had Vernon on a couple times, and I was a co-producer on a movie that he's in. So Vernon was interesting to chat with because he was in The Road Warrior. He doesn't have the mohawk anymore.
I'm sure he doesn't.
But
I do know a couple of people who do.
Yeah,
I know a couple of people with mohawks.
Is one of them Johnny Hernandez?
Exactly. Yeah.
You sent him my way.
Yeah.
Yeah, I had him on here. Oinka Boinka was in Back to School. Because
Yes, I
with,
know that. I put them in there,
yeah,
or I negotiated the deal. I didn't, the director or producer put them in there, but yeah, that was, and Danny did the score in that
hmm,
movie. So they actually approached me about him doing the score, and they didn't offer enough money.
yeah,
And so I kept saying no, and they kept upping the money. Finally, I said, well, that money will be good, but I have Boingo in the movie. Or they came to me and suggested having Boingo in the movie. And that's when I said, yeah, let's do it. So, and Danny agreed, and off we went. So that was fun.
yeah. I love that movie. I've had a few people on from that movie as well.
Yeah.
Our Adrian Barbeau I've had on, Leslie Scarborough, who was the woman in the shower naked when Rodney opened the thing up.
Mhm.
She's a delight. She came on for the film's anniversary last year, and I thought I caught her at a bad moment because she had a towel wrapped around her. I was like, "Did you get out of the shower?" I said, "You want a moment?" She said, "No, I'm the towel girl and back to school. I had to make just the part." She had a bottle of champagne there and everything.
That's
And
fun.
yeah, she was great. And I've had Sam Kinnison's brother on in tribute to him because nobody's ever taught class like Sam Kinnison.
No.
No, but love that movie. And but oh, going back to what I was saying before I lose sight on it was Nancy McLaughlin introduced me to Zoom.
To who?
And yeah,
To who? I didn't hear.
Nancy McLaughlin introduced me to Zoom.
Oh, Zoom. I see. Okay.
Yep. So I got hooked up to Zoom. Actually, my brother got me hooked up on Zoom. And TJ Doyle was supposed to be my first guest on Zoom. And it would have messed up had I not had help from somebody else, because I'm a co-producer on a film called 13 Fanboy, which
Mhm.
is a Friday the 13th related films about a killer going after alumni from the franchise. And one of the people that is associate producer on that is Carrie Yates, who lives in the UK. And I had announced on Facebook that I'm going to be doing interviews on Zoom, and she asked me if I wanted help breaking it in. I'm glad she made the offer because I would have screwed it up had. Now, thankfully, I had TJ Doyle coming on because TJ at least would have understood. I didn't want to screw that up with a new guest. But Carrie Yates came on and helped me get connected. And now here I'm off to the movies, so to speak. I don't do them at the station anymore. I just bring my flash drive in and stick it in and play the interview the nights I'm in there. This is so much more convenient.
Sure. Yeah.
I don't have to book the studio, which means because I don't have to book around other people.
Right.
Do it like this. This is so much nicer,
Yeah.
so much nicer. And I'm not interrupting anybody else's schedule at the station, so it's awesome. So yeah, Nancy introduced me. Carrie Yates got me set up, and so I like this. I'd say about 20 minutes before, like when you sent me that email, haven't got it yet. I was still in bed.
Oh,
I work mostly during the night, and so I set my alarm. So I knew because all I had to do was move from here to here. Kitty's sleeping on there now.
uh-huh.
Yeah, he probably sleeps on it more than me. But nonetheless, I was able to just move here and get everything arranged. So much nicer. I like it. But and also, TJ Doyle's been on 5 times, and Kimberly Haynes has been on a few times, and we were talking briefly about her. I had her and Vigo Grigori on a few years ago. I gotta get them back on. Kimberly
He
said
just
she,
got some new music out.
yeah, yeah.
And I haven't seen either one of them for a couple of years, except on Facebook or something like that. But
Mhm.
they're good people, good people.
Yeah. So Kimberly's lovely, and she's still in touch. Vito's still in touch. So so and let me think. You've had other guests you sent me that I've got on Facebook. I don't communicate with as much, but I've certainly I got them online if something comes up. So
I've got someone I want to introduce you to, a guy named CJ Vanston.
okay.
CJ um, did the music for the Christopher Guest movies.
Like this is Spinal Tap?
Well, I think he did something. He's actually, when Spinal Tap tours, he's actually in the band. He actually plays keyboards, I think, for Spinal Tap.
Oh wow.
But he also did the music for oh come on, what are some Christopher Guest movies?
The Mighty Wind?
Yeah, and something like that. And then the one about the Best in Show.
Yeah, Waiting for
Uh,
Goffman.
Well, hilarious, brilliant movies in my opinion. So he did the music for that. I know him now. I've only gotten to know him because I'm managing a guy named Skunk Baxter.
You got to send him my way.
Yeah, CJ. Yeah, I plan on it.
Yeah, CJ and Skunk.
Yeah, you know Skunk. You know who that
No,
is?
you were supposed to send him my way, but at that time I wasn't on Zoom.
Oh,
Remember,
okay.
it was that waiting period there, and
Uh,
yeah.
they're very busy. They just, in fact, as we speak, they're on their way back from touring the East,
Hmm.
touring New York and Northeast, and they're coming back to California. Then they're doing West Coast dates, and then they're going to Japan in August.
Hmm.
And so I started working with Skunk. In case people don't know, it's Jeff Skunk Baxter, who was a guitarist for the Doobie Brothers and Steely Dan. And you've heard him on many, many other records. He's a big studio guitarist here who plays a solo on Donna Summer's records. And, I mean, he did. And amazing, amazing story, this fellow. And an amazing musician. And when he was very young, when he was in his teens, he worked at a music store in New York. And this fellow came in one day and he said, "Look, I'm playing tomorrow night at the Peppermint Lounge. And this guitar I have is a wreck. I really need a good guitar." So Skunk took a guitar off the wall and traded him for this beat up guitar that he had, and ended up almost getting fired for doing it. And evidently he was docked 2 weeks pay or something. He gave away a guitar.
Hmm.
The guy's name was Jimi Hendrix.
Oh.
Unknown. He was called Jimmy James at the time. He hadn't formed the experience. He hadn't even gone to England yet. He was playing the Peppermint Lounge under the name of Jimmy James and the Blue Flames, I think it was. And so the next night, Skunk went down and played bass with him for one night, and they got to know each other. And so he's got stories like that are exceptional, of his life and what he's done and who he's worked with, and produced hits for other people and so on and so forth. CJ and Skunk co-produced a new album that's coming out under Skunk's name, called Speed to Heat, which will be out in June, about a month from when we're talking now, June 2022. And he's the keyboardist and very much part of the sound of touring. So they just toured for 2 weeks, and that was their debut tour. Skunk had never played solo before. I mean, he played solo, but not on a professional touring level. So CJ, I know you would love talking to him. He's a very bright guy and very talented, and has done amazing stuff as a composer, but also a musician and as a producer. So he co-produced this album with Skunk, and you should have him on separately because CJ's got a
Oh
whole lot
yes,
of
absolutely, absolutely.
I'll connect you up with CJ.
Yeah, please do. Yeah. Is he LA based like you?
Yeah.
Okay, perfectly, because you're 4 hours behind me. I always have to ask that on my guests, where you located, so that
Yeah, right. You got to make
yep,
the adjustment.
yep,
Yeah.
yep. So
Well, it's mid after, well, what time is it? It's 1:45 here. So
yeah,
it's,
it's 1:45 here.
yeah, funny
Yeah.
how that works.
Yeah, and there's a lot of people don't even know where I'm located. I just interviewed somebody from Night of the Demons the other night, who thought I had the time off on the Zoom. She said, it says 6 my time, 9 your time, but shouldn't it be 7 my time? I mean, I can make the adjustment. I said, no, the time's right. I'm in New Brunswick, Canada. Nobody knows where we are.
People know, but they don't realize it's everybody thinks from the West Coast that it's because New York and Toronto and so they're Montreal, they're all 3 hours.
Hmm.
You get over to your part, it's a 4 hour difference, and people don't know that part usually.
Oh, I had somebody, um, a wrestler's daughter, I've had on. Roddy Piper's daughter was on here, and she's living in Florida, and she was surprised that there was a time zone ahead of them.
And that's beyond the usual. Yeah.
Yeah.
People don't know that usually,
I
but
don't know. There's a movie to be made there. I'm surprised why the filmmakers here haven't done that movie, Finding New Brunswick.
yeah, right.
Yeah, but nonetheless, I've stayed in touch with some of the talent you've sent my way, and yeah, I've gotten to know a few of them quite well, and but is there anybody you're still connect? Because I always thought you were a manager, but you're really you're more talent relations and
Well, I was a manager for a long time. I managed the Bangles and Oingo Boingo and Danny
mhm.
Elfman, and I worked closely with the police, but not as a manager.
You help them
Yeah,
get people arrested.
yeah, right. Well, my company is called LA Personal Development, which is LAPD. And that's because of my partner was Miles Copeland when we formed this company, and he was the manager of the police.
Hmm.
And his brother Ian had a booking agency, which was FBI, and Miles had IRS records. So it was all under the umbrella of the police. So you
Hmm.
had FBI, IRS, LAPD, and it was a going concern at one point, in the 80s particularly. And that's when I was as a vice president at A&M Records, and the police were on A&M, and then Miles came to me and said, "You want to get out of here? We'll form a company." And he at the time was the manager of the biggest group in the world. And so I thought that's kind of like Brian Epstein, the Beatles manager, saying, "You want to form a company? Why not?" So we did, and off we went. So it was good fun.
A lot of these bands I grew up with. I remember the Police growing up, and I still listen to them. Do you have any favorite songs from the Police?
Um, yeah, I'm blanking on the title. Canary in a Coal Mine.
Okay.
I like that for a couple of reasons. One is it's just up tempo, cool song, cool lyrics, Sting's singing his heart out. Um, the but the other reason I like it is that when that record came out, my son, he might have been pre-teen or maybe into early teens, but we would dance all over the house to Canary in a Coal Mine. We would, and at that time there was a dance called pogo, which basically you were just jumping up and down a string.
Okay, I remember
We would
that.
bounce all over the house to that song. So that's one of the reasons I would pick that one over any others. But they had some great. I mean, um, their what was their first? Um, oh shoot, I can't remember the name of it, but oh, Roxanne.
Roxanne. I'm
Roxanne.
surprised they didn't use that song in the Steve Martin movie.
Yeah, maybe it cost too much or something. Who knows?
I don't know.
But Roxanne was the first single, which I heard long before it actually was released, and I thought it was a hit. It never became like a top 10 song, but it's obviously one of the major ones in their catalog.
Yeah.
Great song, great for when I heard it. It was so different than anything at the time, and his voice was so different, and the drumming. I grew up a drummer, and Stewart, who I'm still in touch with, is just one of the great drummers. What he does on drums, like he writes operas now and classical music. And when I see him, which I haven't because of the pandemic for a while, but when I see him, I say, would you just get back to playing drums? You know, your music's wonderful that you're writing, but just get back to playing drums. And he does every once in a while.
Yeah, I love the Police. Did they ever get in any controversy with Every Breath You Take?
Not that I heard.
I was surprised. I found out, I think it was I don't know whether it was Watch Mojo or whatnot, but they had a top 10 stalking songs. And
Yeah, it sounds like it, doesn't it? Every breath you take. It sounds, I've thought of that. I thought, I wonder if anybody takes that the wrong way.
I like the song a lot, you
great
know.
Song. Great
Yep.
song. Yeah.
Yep. And oh my goodness. Oh, what's the other one? I'm Lonely. I think that's the song called. I like that one.
Yeah.
Oh, they've done a lot. The Police were great, and I love the Bangles. How can you not love the Bangles? Lovely ladies.
Yeah, yeah. Great songs. Their favorite song of theirs that I consider my favorite song is Going Down to Liverpool, which was originally done by Katrina and the Waves.
Okay. I remember them.
And the Bangles redid it, and I still play that. There was a really interesting arrangement and performance, and it's Debbie, the drummer, who's singing it, which is usually people think it's Sue, but she sang lead on that, and it's a great. We did a video with on that song with Leonard Nimoy.
Okay.
Leonard Nimoy is a limo driver, and the Bangles are in the back seat. This is before they were in limos, you know, and they were singing it, and in the middle of the song, Leonard Nimoy turns over. There's the radio in the limo and turns it off. So in the middle of the song, we actually stop this. You don't hear the music for a short while, and then Vicky from the band reaches over and turns it back on. And so if you ever go on YouTube, look up Going Down to Liverpool by the Bangles. It's a very interesting video. Leonard Nimoy, if I remember correctly, used to babysit Sue when she was a kid, because they lived next door to Sue and her parents, and I think Brentwood area of Los Angeles. So she knew him and got him into the relatively unknown band at that time called the Bangles. Good video, good song.
The Bangles, for me, speaking of Debbie, the drummer, I really like the song Be With You, and she sang in that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Watching the Sky, I like a lot too. It had a nice hard hit. Speaking of drums for that one. And yeah, there's a lot of great songs on that album, and yeah, Manic Monday still gets played a lot, and
it does.
So, yep.
Manic Monday does, and Walk Like an Egyptian. Of course,
Walk Like an Egyptian, absolutely. Yep, that one still gets played a lot. Yeah. Are you still connected with the Bangles? I'd love to have one of them on my show at least.
No, I'm not professionally. I talked to Sue just prior to the pandemic, and she was working. She was doing some other thing with another singer, and Matthew Sweet, and they were. She asked me if I wanted to come and see them, and I said yes. But then they never played. They everything shut down.
Yeah.
So I haven't talked to her for a couple of years.
Mm.
But and I haven't seen the Bangles themselves for a long time. They played House of Blues here in LA a number of years ago, and House of Blues has long since been torn down. So it may be talking 10 years ago that I saw them play. But I saw them a lot during the 80s, and
I remember.
Yeah, it was all over the world. I was in Japan with them, and Spain and Italy, and no, not Spain, Italy, and did a show in Italy. It was the Bangles, Whitney Houston, and Paul Simon.
Ah, nice lineup.
Yeah, and we were walking out of the venue. There were crowds in the streets. It was San Remo Festival, which is a big international festival based there. And we're leaving, and I see Paul Simon coming in. Now, I don't know him. He doesn't know me. I knew his brother a long time ago. And the Bangles are coming out, and I'm right in the middle. So I just went, Paul, this is the Bangles. I'm introducing them. He doesn't know who I am, but he was very polite and said hi. And then a couple of years later, we had a #1 single with Hazy Shade of Winter, one of his songs.
I remember that.
Yeah. So maybe he remembers that meeting. I don't know, but we saw him. That's true. That year we were at the Grammys, and the Bangles were presenters at the Grammys, and that was during Graceland, and so he was at the Grammys. So we re-met backstage at the Grammys that year. But his brother looks almost identical to Paul Simon. And we're in Detroit. This would be in the late 60s, early 70s. Because Paul's brother and I, Simon and Garfunkel were playing, I believe, Cobo Hall in Detroit. So his brother and I went for a walk through the crowd, but he looks just like Paul Simon. So the crowd started going crazy because they thought it was Paul Simon. But nobody bothered us. So you could see them all. But he would do this periodically just to drive people nuts. But anyway, another story.
Yeah. I remember growing up with especially MTV started, and of course the early 80s, and I remember that craze, and that was fun back then. I got to admit, that was fun, and I remember the 80s well. But nonetheless, with you, like, if I remember correctly, you saw the Beatles in concert, didn't you?
Saw them at Maple Leaf Gardens in Toronto. I was there. I was in Toronto with a band called the Staccatos, Ottawa band.
Yeah.
And they became 5-man electrical band and had a big hit with their song Signs and everything. But at the time they were called Staccatos, and
I remember Signs.
Yeah. And we went to the night before we played in Barrie, Ontario, and it was the headliners were the Young Rascals, and then BJ Thomas, the Staccatos, but in between Young Rascals and BJ Thomas was Neil Diamond.
Ah.
So that's Rascals, Neil Diamond, BJ Thomas, and the Staccatos, which was an amazing show. And I'll never forget that I watched the drummer for the Rascals, who was phenomenal. I just sat by the side of the stage and watched him. But anyway, we drove from Barrie to Toronto, and they were playing in Toronto. And it was the day the Beatles were playing, and it wasn't sold out. It was almost sold out. And so I bought a ticket, probably, I think for like, $20 or something.
Oh,
and I sat up.
Yeah.
I sat up and almost, way up near the top. I mean, I could. It was like a last minute seat, right? And but I saw him play, and I remember it incredible. It was incredible. But they were, in those days, they were still wearing gray flannel pants and jackets and ties.
Yeah.
But it was something to see them play.
I bet.
I didn't hear them play. It was all screams. Couldn't hear a thing. And they hardly needed any lights in the place because in those days it was flash cameras.
Mm-hmm.
The flash cameras were going crazy. The place lit up like it was daylight. All it was just cameras going off. And they did 20 minutes and that was it. They did 4 or 5 songs and thank you very much. And they left.
Do you remember the songs they played?
No, I don't offhand. I don't offhand. What would that have been? Probably Twist and Shout and probably like She Loves You and that. Oh, are you there?
Nope, I'm here.
Hang on, something just happened on my screen. There, I'm back.
There you go. Nope, I see. Yeah.
So when would that have been? I don't know, like 67 or something like that. It might have been
For
the
my
last
time,
tour.
yeah.
But yeah, the opening act I remember was I don't remember actually. I'm trying to remember his name. Anyway, and I think maybe Ike and Tina Turner were the opening act.
There you go.
But I saw them years later, right up close in Ann Arbor, Michigan. I saw them in a university gig. Amazing show. Amazing show.
And I know another story you told me was why am I blanking on her name? Taught you how the proper way to drink tequila.
Janis Joplin.
Janis Joplin. I think of the name I had on the tip of my tongue. Janis Joplin. Yeah.
She showed me the right way to drink tequila.
Yeah.
And she was funny. I didn't know her that well, but I did I was doing a story on her for the Detroit Free Press, a morning newspaper in Detroit, and a weekend magazine. And I saw her in Ann Arbor one weekend, which is about a couple hours or an hour or something outside Detroit, and spent time with her there. And then she went to New York, I believe, to do the Ed Sullivan Show, and then about several weeks later came back to Detroit to do Detroit itself. So it was like two visits, and I was just sitting backstage, and I don't know how I was drinking it, but all of a sudden I hear, Michael, that's not the way you do it. And she showed me how to drink tequila.
One interesting story. I usually don't drink. I'm going to tell you my story, and this was one of my visits to Toronto with Lisa. We went to dinner one night, and because she knows all the best restaurants, and she'll have a glass of wine. And I was sitting there, I was like, I don't know what I want to have to drink, because I'm not a big drinker. I've had wine before, And Lisa said to me, she goes, "You're a fan of that movie, The Big Lebowski. Why not a White Russian?" And I looked at the waitress and I said, "Can you do that?" She goes, "Yeah." And I said, "The dude abides." I must have had 3 or 4 White Russians.
Oh man, that'll wipe you out.
I didn't have it that night, not 3 or 4 that night, but during my whole trip there, I was there for a week.
I used to have White Russians. I used to tour somewhat with Rod Stewart in the
I like
70s.
Rod, yeah.
And that was my drink on that tour. And then a good buddy of mine named Peter McKeon, who went on to produce Men at Work and some other big albums.
I love them, yeah.
We were in Chicago, and I would always ask for White Russian with a little extra tequila.
Mm-hmm.
For some reason, they generally did that. It was like a milkshake, but it was heavy duty. I couldn't have more than 2, and I'm not a big drinker at all.
No.
And but that year I got a Christmas card from Rod saying "Merry Christmas" with a little extra tequila.
Yeah, I like that movie, The Big Lebowski, and that was what Jeff Bridges was always drinking in that, was White Russians. I didn't even know what a White Russian was until that movie came out, because I'm not familiar with all that. But That was another thing Lisa introduced me to. And she didn't have a white rice; she just had wine. But
She's not a big drinker either. No.
no. But when I go down there and we meet up, we usually go to a restaurant or whatnot and just chill. I know she asked me a lot of questions about New Brunswick here, and while I'm telling her about New Brunswick, I'm marveling Toronto. You know, there's that possibility. Not that I want to get off topic, but I'm thinking about maybe if I can get my money saved up and maybe even get a job at the hospital, one of the hospitals down there, moving to Toronto because I love it that much down there. I think about Toronto every day.
Really? Wow.
Yeah. And it started with Lisa, but a lot of people Lisa connected me to down there have become friends of mine.
Oh, so you know some people, and
yep.
Yeah, not a complete stranger when you go there.
Well, I remember the first year we went to Horrorama. She introduced me to a band called Blood Opera out of Toronto. And I remember the following year when I went to Horrorama, Lisa met me afterwards because we were going to, go to a restaurant and eat and whatnot and connect. And she came inside because Chris Alexander, the person that heads Horrorama, knows who she is and whatnot. He's Toronto based. And she came in and people were asking her for autographs and this and that. And Blood Opera came out, and Blood Opera, of course, they did something with her in front of the school back, and I saw the video. But what I was honored by is they remember me from the previous year.
Oh, neat.
Which I thought was pretty cool. And
Right.
we went to a restaurant, Lisa and the band and I, and we had poutine and nachos and stuff. And then the next time I went, Blood Opera asked if I could connect them to Debbie Sue Voorhees to get their song Fanboy in 13 Fanboy, because I was a co-producer, one of many on that film. Unfortunately, their song didn't get picked, which I'm not happy about because I think it's a great song. And Sean Clark thought it was a great song, and he represents a lot of people for the cons. So, but I'm still in touch with Blood Opera.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and Robin Barker, of course, and even people that Lisa didn't connect me with.
Yeah, like well, you get to know, you get in the network.
Well, here's something that happened. There's a guy that goes by the name of Creepy Ghoul, who's lives in Scarborough. And after I got back from Horrorama the first time, I was at my brother's apartment and I was looking up to see if there was any videos shot there where I could see myself. Because I see a lot of convention videos. And it wasn't for the 2017 one, but the 2018 walk around video that Creepy Ghoul did. You could see a brief 2 seconds of me going downstairs. Mm-hmm. He is not on social media at all. So I contacted him through YouTube. And he said he's been waiting for somebody to ask him for an interview. And he and I are connected. He said next time he does a walk around video for Horrorama, which is going to be happening this year after 2 years hiatus. Mm-hmm. He said he wants to meet me. I said, I might, fingers crossed, knock on wood, I might have Lisa booked for that too. So I'll do another one with her, which will be nice. But I plan to do that one in Frightmare at the Falls. So hopefully, if I can get the time off, I should have no problem. But stuff like that is fun.
Yeah.
But Blood Opera was one of those bands I met through Lisa, and they do what they were doing during the pandemic. I thought was really cool. They couldn't do live shows, so they would do live streaming, and they would just take whatever basement outlet they were in, and they would do the lighting and stuff like that. and they would do interviews people as well as perform, but they would interview people by Zoom. I know they did one on Black Christmas, and they had Lynn Griffin come on and talk to them because she was the famous plastic bag victim in the film. But they had approached me and asked if I could connect them with some people, which I was honored they asked me. And actually, I connected them with Lynn Griffin. Now that I stop and think about it, I forgot about that. But they did one on a Christmas one last year. And they asked if I could hook them up with Brendan Maggart from Christmas Evil. Brendan's 88 years old. He's been on my show a couple times, and he said yes. And I hooked them up with Paul Lynch, the director of Prom Night, and Chris Cooper, the lead singer, says to me, he goes, "I was getting my groceries, and Paul Lynch calls me." And he said he was in an Arby's drive-through, and Brandon Maggart called him. So I was happy to arrange that and make that connection, because if I ever move to Toronto, I want to have some nice connections like that.
Sure.
Yeah, absolutely.
It'd be great.
Yeah. But they were doing some live feed stuff like that, and I thought, then they even did a promo video advertising my show on there, which was pretty cool.
Great. Cool.
Do you ever see Blood Opera before?
No, I don't. I haven't
No.
seen-
They were endorsed by George Romero before he passed, because what they do is they take horror theme music and they do a rock theme through it.
Oh, I see.
Yeah. And they get dressed up in these ghoulish costumes. And they said they expected George Romero to brush them off at this con. George Romero said, "No, you got to do it. You got to do it," And so that was pretty interesting. So I've made a few nice connections like that. Kind of what you've been doing, making connections.
Yeah, I've been doing that for a long time. It always works. It always works. Like I mentioned it's the middle of the afternoon here, so I have to get back to work.
Work?
Yeah,
work.
I'm working.
Work.
It's a work day.
That's a 4-letter word.
Okay, I'll get back to my profession. How's that?
Mike, is there anything else you want to promote on here before we close off?
There's I don't have it right here. I'm gonna did you talk to Jessica from the band Strictly Elizabeth?
Yes, I did.
Yeah, I thought you did. And
actually, her interview's going public very soon. It was unlisted.
Oh, good, because she's recording at the moment, and doing some new music. And then I'm a very interesting band out of New Mexico. You'll like this name. Ruby Ate the Fig is the name of the band.
I love it.
And I've got to put her on with you, because she's an amazing woman. She was born in San Diego, but she grew up in I think Israel, and she it's rock music, but with this Middle Eastern flavor, because she knows that part of the world so well. And she would actually on, I don't know how many summers, but on some summers would visit a Bedouin tribe and stay with them for a period of time. So she got to know their music and their culture very, very well. And they're putting a new record together, and they're touring at the end of June. And so you would find her very interesting. And so it's all very busy. And a guy named Doug Legacy, who's LA based, who's toured with Rod Stewart. He was in Oingo Boingo, and he's been in, but he's a keyboard player, but also plays accordion. And a lot of Zydeco New Orleans kind of music. Although his new album is not quite that. It's a little more, I don't know, central located, but they're all great interviews with great stories. So I'd love to connect them up with you. And
I never say no, I
uh-huh.
never say no. I'll take Strictly Elizabeth back again if she wants to come on here.
And when the new album's done,
Yep.
she's doing that. And
Yep. And Send Ruby Eats the Fig. I gotta ask her about that title.
Ruby ate the fig. There's another woman I'm working with out of Nashville called Beth Sass, a great
Okay.
songwriter, and she's doing an EP that will be out very soon.
Send her my way.
She's a lot of stories there. So I'll connect with you, and we'll get you with CJ Vanston and probably Skunk at some point. And
Sure.
he's a great guy, and a great interview with him. So
yeah, when you send them my way, always tell me their location so that when I do hook the Zoom up, I'll be able to.
They're all LA. Well, except for Ruby Ate the Fig is
New Mexico.
New Mexico.
Yeah, she's 3 hours behind me then.
Right.
Yeah. I'm starting to get the hang of where the stuff is now,
Her name is Sharon, although it's spelled Sharon. We look at it and say Sharon, but it's actually pronounced Sharon.
Okay.
And, I'll get you the information on that. But very, very busy. Skunk is, as I say, just today as we speak, getting back from his debut tour, 2-week tour of the Northeast. West Coast will happen in August, and then they're off to Japan. And then after that, probably back into the maybe the Midwest and maybe up to Canada. So we'll see what's going on. We want to get up there before it snows.
Snows.
It's tough enough touring than dealing with weather. So we're going to try to get them into that part of the world and out by September, mid-October, or something like that.
Yeah.
But, and then we'll send them down south, and then they can play in the south during the winter. But they're going to be doing their West Coast debut in first week of August, and and they're not really going up this Bay Area and in Southern California. It's only 5 or 6 days, but it's CJ's in that band, and great band. Oh my gosh, it was. They were rehearsing for the tour. This is like a month ago or more, and CJ got the drummer and the bass player, and Skunk hadn't met them. He talked to them, but he hadn't met them, and they had never played. And their first day playing, they just tore right through 6 songs. They just clicked right away. So
there you go. Yeah.
And then they rehearsed for another 10 days. So when they played for the first time, it was wonderful. It was they made their debut in Annapolis, Maryland, and then went into DC and so on and so forth. There's another whole side to Skunk you don't know about, where he's an advisor to missile defense in the U.S. He actually goes to the Pentagon and works out of the Pentagon and DC quite a bit. And he can talk to you about that. He can talk to you about it to some degree. But he actually has a pretty high clearance. So there's things he can't talk about. But
sure.
So anyway, that's what's keeping me busy these days, and enjoying all of it. And great to talk to you again. Haven't been a while, and actually see you this time. It was Zoom is an amazing thing, isn't it? And without the pandemic, I don't know if Zoom would have made it, but it saved a lot of people's sanity.
Well, I'm going to tell you, I was miserable during that 9, because I had done 30 interviews in 2020, and then this happened. And like I said, about 30 people waiting for me, and including Nancy Allen, who I finally had on Zoom last year, and it was awesome to get her on. And speaking of the Beatles, she was in I Want to Hold Your Hand.
Oh, yeah.
Yep. And
no, movie? No, what movie? Hard Day's Night. And
yeah, but she was in the movie I Want to Hold Your Hand.
Oh, that movie. Yes, of course. Yeah. That was a very cool movie, wasn't it?
Yeah, she was the one that was making out with the guitar.
Oh, I see. Okay.
Yep. I like that movie. It was Robert Zemeckis' first film too. Boy, he had quite a career as a director.
Yeah, no kidding.
Yep. But no, Zoom has worked out great, and I love the fact that I could just like this, and I can still keep my connection with the station. I do my live show Sunday night, although I haven't been down there the last 3 weeks because I've had interviews, and with the hospital scheduling, they get me scheduled a lot during the day Sunday, so Sunday night is free. But where it's like I said, this is a reschedule between us, and I have one Sunday I had to reschedule 3 interviews. Luckily, I got them all rescheduled and done. But that could be hard when you don't know when you're working. So
Right.
yeah, but once
All
I
right.
get moving up better, my schedule would be a little more defined, and the money's nice, and Skittles looks content sitting over there.
Skittles. That's what's important. Skittle is content.
Because yeah, Skittles is content. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll get back to work, and so great to chat with you. And hello to everybody else out there who's watching and listening. And we'll see you again sometime.
Yeah, I'll reach out to you next year and see what's happening, and have you back and get some updates and share
Okay.
some more memories. You
All
gotta
right.
do
Wonderful.
a book on this.
People keep telling me that, and I actually have a channel on YouTube called Gormley Talks.
I got to subscribe to that. I did not know that.
Yeah, Gormley Talks, and it's I haven't paid attention to it for the past couple of months because of my schedule, but I tell some stories about some of the stories we talked about here, about my time with the Bangles and my time with the police and Rod Stewart and Rush and BTO and so on and so
Oh,
forth. So
nice.
it's there's only a few segments on there at this point, but we're going to build it up even more. But it's called Gormley Talks, and that at the moment is replacing the book because I haven't had time to write the book. But there's some fun stories on there. I it's just Gormley Talks on YouTube. I'm not sure of the actual .com or whatever the hell it is.
You know what? I'll look it up. I'll subscribe because that's where my interviews go, is YouTube. So
Yeah.
yeah. So yeah. Well, it was great talking to you, and I'll reconnect. We're both on Facebook, so
Yeah.
no, I saw you coming up when I looked at my calendar and how I got everything arranged. I thought I should do an update on Mike Gormley. It's been a while, so
Well, it's been
yeah,
fun. It's
yeah,
fun as
yeah,
usual. Well, thanks a
absolutely.
lot.
Enjoy that warm weather.
Yeah, well, yeah, it's not much warmer than you at this point, but
Are you sure?
come on, what's it's I don't know where I don't know what it is, but it's not like a hot day. It's but it's a very pleasant, well, it'd be equal to probably a pleasant spring day. But the heat's coming like everywhere else, it'll warm up here and at into July into August, and that's if I'm going to go to Vancouver next month and hang out with my sister for 5 or 6 days, and I'll look forward to that. I haven't been back to Canada because of the pandemic for almost 3 years. So
Okay,
all right,
okay. Well, remember, if you see people coming down there wearing t-shirts and flip-flops in that 70-degree weather,
yeah,
they're Canadian.
yeah, it was a good shot, good chance. All right, man. Thank you.
You take it easy. Thanks a lot, man.
Bye bye.
Bye-bye.